We begin tonight with breaking news. A woman was shot and killed inside a Hillsborough bar early this morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm Blair Best. This type of violence is somewhat rare in Hillsborough, with this being the second reported deadly shooting in Hillsborough this year. Brian Clerkley is outside Kim's Red Rose Bar where it happened. And Brian, what more can you tell us?
Hey Blair, police say a 42-year-old woman was shot inside the bar. It happened just before 1 a.m. and there still seems to be a lot of people inside the bar. The parking lot is full and police say there was a group of people inside the bar that were asked to leave, and that's when the woman was shot, according to police. Detectives want to speak with anyone who was at this bar last night and early this morning. Detectives believe at least one car in the parking lot was damaged by the shots, but likely left before the driver noticed. Police would like people who were parked at the bar to check their cars for damage, and people who do have information on the shooting should contact the Hillsborough Police, and that number is 503-681-6175. Blair.
All right, Brian, thank you. And we will continue to update you on this shooting tonight on air and online at KGW.com. Now to Portland. A driver was taken to the hospital after a stolen U-Haul crashed into them. An 18-year-old was driving that U-Haul at the time of the crash and now faces multiple charges. The U-Haul is completely wrecked and clearly hit a tree. By the looks of the crash, one can only guess the driver was going pretty fast. Gresham police say the U-Haul was stolen out of Portland. Authorities are not sure if it was taken from a renter or from a U-Haul lot. Officers saw the U-Haul several times before the crash, but were not able to stop the driver. Well, starting today, the Clark County Sheriff's Office will test body and vehicle cameras. The trial will last for 30 days. Earlier this week, a team from the camera company Axon trained deputies on how to use the new equipment. During the trial, 3 deputies and 1 sergeant will wear the cameras, and some will test the camera system on the vehicle. Support specialists will also see how to manage, preserve, and redact videos during this test. The Sheriff's Office says it plans to get this camera program up and running by the end of the year. Nearly 150 sworn members within the Sheriff's Office will have cameras when the program is up and running. Now, other law enforcement agencies, including Vancouver and Salem Police, have also started their own body camera programs. Well, here's a live look at our Wells Fargo Skycam. Portland has seen several inches of rain so far this weekend, and the weather is showing no signs of letting up. Get this, there's potential for some snow in the Rose City tonight. Forecaster Daisy Caballero is joining me in the studio now. And Daisy, what is the deal with the snow?
So I don't want anyone to freak out or anything. If we do see some snow, it's probably going to be some flurries.
Okay.
And then as we warm up, probably by like 10 or 9 in the morning, things are going to be far and gone. Again, there's potential for some accumulating snow in the foothills, but we'll be able to see and figure that out once we get a little bit closer to Monday morning. All right, now, as you're seeing satellite and radar, at this very moment, we are still seeing some passing showers and also some mountains seeing more of that snow, and they have seen a lot of it this entire weekend, and more is on the way. Checking in Portland right now, 44 degrees. Winds pretty calm, right around 3 miles an hour. Checking in Cannon Beach, 43 degrees. Winds are picking up, coming out from the west at 16 miles an hour. Now, as we're checking over into those mountains and foothills, Timberline, 21 degrees, and they have seen more than 2 feet of snow this entire weekend. We're also talking 2 advisories: winter storm warning for the coastal range and also for the Cascades, and a winter weather advisory for parts of central and eastern Oregon. But we'll talk more about this alongside that 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, Daisy, thank you. Well, this week is a big milestone in our post-pandemic world. Starting tomorrow, state health officials in both Oregon and Washington will no longer require patients or providers to wear masks in medical settings. But as Catherine Cook reports, each facility can still make their own rules to keep people safe.
Starting Monday, state mask mandates in healthcare settings will be a thing of the past. That goes for workers, patients, and visitors in both Oregon and Washington. A coordinated effort to end one of the most steadfast regulations of the pandemic.
We wanted to be sure that all of our patients stayed safe and be respectful of others.
Terry Dantzler with Portland Urgent Care discussed the policy change with staff. They decided to continue requiring patients with a cough or cold symptoms to wear a mask when they come in. Employees will also wear a mask if they have symptoms or when testing a patient for COVID. Dantzler says during the pandemic, staff were very diligent about wearing masks, and it showed.
Not one staff member that we're aware of got COVID because of a patient walking in the door. So that was an amazing statistic for us.
State health officials announced the impending changes about a month ago. At the time, Oregon State Health Officer Dr. Dean Seidlinger pointed out that flu and RSV cases were dropping, while COVID cases were also trending downward. Still, he recognized lifting the mask mandate in medical settings would bring mixed feelings.
For many, they're greeting this announcement with happiness, that this is a great positive step as we move on from COVID-19. For others, particularly those with chronic conditions or who are immunocompromised, they're facing this decision with some anxiety.
Over the last month, individual healthcare providers have all adjusted their guidelines to take effect April 3rd.
Take Legacy, for example. They'll continue requiring masks in certain areas and situations. That includes around oncology, transplant, and medically fragile patients, and anytime a patient or family member asks that a mask be worn.
Providence is making similar adjustments. They'll continue asking patients with symptoms of respiratory illness to wear masks and ask that visitors with such symptoms stay home. Peace Health and OHSU are also maintaining mask requirements in high-risk situations. As we move into this next post-pandemic phase, health officials say it's important that we not let our guard down. Always be considerate, especially if you're sick.
To me, that's just common sense now that we've been wearing them for so long and we understand that it does help.
In Northwest Portland, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
We are here to just show who we are, honestly, to each other and to the world.
Portland joined cities across the country on Friday, which was Transgender Day of Visibility, in a nationwide queer youth march. The marches are in response to a slew of anti-LGBTQ+ legislation. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, so far this year, state lawmakers have filed more than 400 bills targeting LGBTQ+ people. Now, more than half involve trans people. In the last 3 years, 19 states have banned transgender students from playing school sports on the teams that align with their gender identity. And in the last 2 years, 11 states have banned transition-related medical care for minors. There were also marches in Hillsborough, Corvallis, Bend, Medford, Walla Walla, and Boise. Well, when it comes to fake news about the 2020 election, people who use Facebook were more likely to be reading it, as opposed to people who use any other social media platform. That's the finding of a newly released study out of Washington State University. Here's Tim Gordon with the details.
Leading up to and right on through November of 2020, information was flying, and plenty to choose from was fake. And a big concern for people administering one of the key components of our democracy, our elections. Here's Multnomah County Elections Director Tim Scott at the time.
Misinformation and disinformation are the biggest threat to the election that we have very little control over.
Now results from a new study by Washington State University shows Facebook was by far the main social media website where people were likely to read fake news. The study relied on 3 online surveys, 2 before the presidential election between incumbent Donald Trump and challenger Joe Biden, and 1 after the election by actual voters. It indicates that fake news consumption and political persuasion were the primary forces driving doubt in the integrity of the vote counting process. The vast majority of doubters identified as conservatives, and those conservatives were more likely to find fake news through Facebook than other people. The reason? Facebook's system for getting users to come back for more.
The algorithms were used to confirm people's biases that they wanted to believe, and the more that they read these bias reinforcing websites, the more likely they were to feel like, yeah, I believe it because I'm reading it in these news articles.
WSU professor and study co-author Robert Crossler says those who relied on Facebook to feed their news diet often got disinformation from stories not connected to mainstream news media sources that sowed doubt in the election process, as opposed to those who went directly to established news sites. One could argue it's all part of the landscape leading up to January 6th and the attack on the U.S. Capitol. The key takeaway from the study?
I would encourage people who primarily get their information from Facebook to look for other sources of information for news. And so kind of taking control of that so you make the decisions of where you're getting news would be a good recommendation.
Tim Gordon, KGW News.